Okay, so this morning I woke up earlier than I was planning on. Partly because I knew that I had volunteering this morning, but that's not until 10 o'clock. So I still have about an hour before I need to leave, and I was able to get some writing done. I wrote about 800 words, which is almost my entire goal for today, and that's great. Also, I'm just wearing my tricorn hat because I want to. I like it a lot. Actually made it. I just bought a hat from Target. Sewed the sides up, stuck a feather in it, which I don't know that you can see, but this is just a little feather. And then later I decided to shape it with the steamer that we have. It needs to be reshaped, but it still looks cool. There's your bonus DIY for watching this video. But anyway, I'm going to do a newsletter now, but it was really nice to be able to just, while I'm fresh, get some things done. Getting up early every now and then is kind of nice. It was nice to take some time for myself before I had to go do the volunteering this morning, so that's nice. Nice that I was able to do that. Also, I feel like some of you would be amused to know that I seem to be noticing a pattern with the last two stories I wrote, with this story and then my NaNoWRIMO project. Both of these stories, I feel like both the antagonist and the protagonist have very similar flaws, and even sometimes similarities in their personality. The difference is that the antagonist embraces those flaws and mistakes them for strength, and the protagonist recognizes those flaws and they either improve it to where it's not a bad habit anymore, it's not a flaw anymore, they make it into a strength, they change how they're doing things, or they realize that it's just a flaw that they need to just work on and try to eliminate that bad habit altogether and form a new habit instead. But the antagonist just is thinks that it's a strength and just embraces it. But I thought that was really interesting to notice. Let me know down in the comments if that is something that you've seen in books in general, or if that's just something that I've happened to do with this story and with my NaNoWRIMO project. Speaking of NaNoWRIMO project, some of you all might be wondering what my plans are with last year's project, with my NaNoWRIMO project from last year. I am currently not planning on publishing it right now. It turned out okay, but it just didn't quite end up how I wanted it to, and I don't think I like it quite enough to publish it right now. However, I have ended up coming up with a separate story idea for the same world. So I know that I have mentioned in a couple of random places that I have a story idea that's kind of the piratey fantasy, but it's not really fantasy because there's no magic, but there might be sea monsters and stuff like that. It's basically just a pirate story in a made-up world, and there's also kingdoms and stuff like that. I think really the main time I mentioned it was in my writing update, but that story currently takes place in the same world as my NaNoWRIMO project, just in very different parts of the world. What I'm currently thinking right now is that fantasy pirate trilogy, as I'm going to call it, that I had in mind, which I don't know that it would really be a trilogy or not, but that's just a fun, in my head idea right now that I'm not planning on writing anytime soon. But in my head, that is probably going to turn out better than my NaNoWRIMO project. And maybe my NaNoWRIMO project was just a fun side story that takes place in a different part of the world, that if I ever publish this series and I have just loyal fans that want to read anything they can from the world, that would just be a nice side story for them. That is just my random author thinking. I'm not planning on writing that other series right now, or publishing my NaNoWRIMO project from last year anytime soon, but it's a fun idea to chew on. Oh, and something else that I forgot to show you that you might be interested in is I decorated my laptop. I have a case on it, and the whole reason that I wanted this case in the first place was so I could put stickers on it. This is from an Etsy shop, Light Chaser Studio. I actually have the sticker. That was what was ordered, but she included this larger art print version of the sticker, and I actually liked it the size better for on my laptop, so I just used some washi tape to attach it. This washi tape is just cheap washi tape from Walmart, which it kind of doesn't want to stick on the ends, but oh well. And then this is a sticker that I got for free at some point when I ordered something from Mandy Lynn, whether it was a book about self-publishing or Mr. Moon's Big Move. I got this free sticker from her that she included, so that was nice. So I kind of wanted a pink side and a blue side, and I have a sticker on my wish list that says "Sing Me a Sea Shanty," and I want to put that up here. But anyway, yeah, I updated my laptop, so there you go. I think it's really cute. I'm at the library, so I have to be quiet, but I just passed my halfway mark for my 30,000 word count goal. Yay. Whoop, whoop. Very exciting. And I discovered that there are window seats here at my library in the children's section, and there weren't any kids, so I was like, yep, that is my spot today. I was not feeling very well this morning, so I decided to just rest. I'm finally sitting down to write for the morning because I have to go to work later. So I just checked on the place where I put my book and like the little free library deal at the library, and it's not there anymore. It's gone. Somebody finally took it, so yay, somebody's reading my book. I guess maybe next time I'll come, I will bring another copy to see if I can't get my book into more readers' hands that way. Hopefully, maybe they'll leave a review. If not, at least they got to read it. But this is a really great way to get rid of like my ones that they didn't print correctly, especially because since most of the books in this kind of thing are used, people aren't expecting them to be perfect. So yeah. And then I also wrote 20,000 words, which was great. My main character just found out that the person she already knew was kind of a villain is in fact actually a villain. She did not know he was actively a pirate, and she found out he was actively a pirate. So you can imagine that being on his ship and realizing that is a little bit disturbing for her, so especially because she kind of sort of has backstory with him, so it's just like, why is it so much fun to write villains? It should not be this fun to write villains, but he's just perfect. Okay, so I have not given you guys an update in like a week. Sorry, but my writing word count has been all over the place. Some days I've gotten over 1,000 words. Last Sunday I just wrote like a little over 100, I want to say, but that day I chose to do it because I wanted to film YouTube videos. I spent most of the day filming YouTube videos because whenever my college starts, I'm going to be doing full-time online, so I wanted to have where for the first few weeks of college I didn't have to worry about filming YouTube videos. They would just be on autopilot. I also filmed a video just for fun because I started a second YouTube channel. Is that the best idea right before I'm getting ready to start college? Probably not, but I'm doing it entirely for fun. I don't know if any of you are familiar with what ASMR is, but ASMR is basically this nice tingly feeling that you get when you hear certain like relaxing sounds like tapping or breathy whispers or unintelligible whispers or scratching, and it's relaxing. It's the videos that you will find, on YouTube for the most part are designed for relaxation. And I wanted to start my own channel partly because sometimes ASMR, for whatever reason, the role plays, because sometimes people will do the triggers that are called triggers, those types of noises, while they're dressed up in different characters. Sometimes those tend to be kind of dark themes. So I wanted to make my own channel that was, positive, uplifting. I'm sure I will talk about my faith sometimes, but also just an excuse to dress up in costumes and create characters in a YouTube video. So I'm not going to post over there very often, and it could be something that I end up just doing for a little while and then quitting when I get bored, but I will link it down below in case you want to check it out. I so far have done a Lily Doolittle roleplay inspired by the movie that came out a year or two ago about Doolittle. I absolutely love that movie. And then one where it's a princess doing your makeup. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, I'll put the link down in the description because honestly, I'm just making them because it's a lot of fun. But as far as writing is concerned, I'm kind of hitting the place in my outline where I knew I was going to run into some trouble because I hadn't completely figured out what was up, but there was something off in the middle of my outline. There was something in kind of the middle area of the story that I know is going to need to be tweaked, and I'm not completely sure yet what it is, but my main character's arc is something that I have really struggled with throughout the whole preparation process, and I've figured out what her arc is. But the middle area, some of the steps she's taking in her arc just aren't really defined, and I'm kind of having to make some of it up as I go. But it's kind of coming together. I just have to kind of press forward and just write the next thing and kind of get to the further steps. The other thing is, I may or may not have mentioned this before, but she's not currently in the story, the way I have it set up, a really strong Christian in the beginning. Growing up in colonial, America, she obviously goes to church and does all the things because that was pretty much required. If you were wanting to be, acceptable in general society, you went to church and, did that. But she's not like a super strong Christian herself. She doesn't feel real close to the Lord. And I'm not sure if I like that or not, because it makes it a lot harder to make the kind of interweaving theme of faith strong enough for my liking. I just have a really hard time getting a character that's not really strong in their faith as a main character to then incorporate a strong enough faith message for my liking, but I'm trying it out. And if I don't like it, I can always go back and tweak the arc, but there's that. The other thing is that I have some side characters that are absolutely taking over. Like, not necessarily in a bad way, but I have 2 side characters that I did not plan on including at all. I came up with on the fly. I'm coming up with their backstories on the fly. I randomly decided to have one of these side characters be missing a few of his fingers while I was just in the middle of writing. I was like, this guy's gonna be missing a few fingers, and then this is gonna be his backstory, and blah, 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 blah. But the problem is that they're both character types that I was originally planning on not having, at all. The one character is like a young man who's not that much older than my main character. And my problem with him is that people are probably going to assume that this is going to be a romantic story, but it's not. He's just a kind, younger man who's, trying to be a gentleman. And then the other guy is kind of he's not the antagonist, but he's that type of character, and he's kind of a creep. And creeps are so common in historical fiction. Like, every Christian historical fiction book I've ever read has had a creep. Ever. And so, I don't like those kinds of characters in books. I feel like they're always, they just go too far. They freak me out. And I decided I wanted to try to write it, but write it differently. Write it in a way that I would like, where you see her doing what she needs to do, like, as an example on how to handle that for my younger readers. But there's also a part of me that's just like, Careena, are your readers even going to want to read that at all? Or are they going to be like you and they're just like, yeah, you should have left that out? I'm just trying it out. I can just totally cut it, or I can just take the whole kind of creepy aspect out of it and just make where he's mean, and that's it. But we'll see. Even though I consider myself a plotter, there are definitely times where I just end up pantsing my way through a certain character or just throwing in side characters, but that's a good thing, because honestly there weren't enough characters in this story. There was just like protagonist, protagonist's family, antagonist, antagonist's 2 most important crewmates, and just random people, like, background characters. So there's that. So that's a good thing. But yeah, these side characters, I love them. They're such great characters, but they're taking over my story. Praise God, I finished my volunteering. 40 hours of volunteering is a lot of volunteering. Of course, I didn't do it all in a row. That would be kind of silly. But anyway, I got that done. So hopefully, even though by next week NaNoWRIMO will be done, or Camp NaNoWRIMO will be done, I can have no volunteering to worry about next week. I will just have work and the regular stuff, and maybe I can get a lot of writing done to help me get closer to the end of draft 1 before school starts. So I'm going to go meet a friend for dinner now. But after I got home from volunteering, I did sit down and got about 1,500 words written, which is really good. That will make it more manageable tomorrow and Saturday to try to get the rest of my words in to hit 30,000 words. But I'm still going to have to write a lot tomorrow and Friday, or tomorrow is Friday. Friday and Saturday if I want to pull it off. Okay, so I ended up staying about a half an hour later at the library than I was planning on today, but that's okay because I just wanted to work on maps and some other fun stuff when I was done writing. So today I had a really hard time kind of getting into the story. But after writing for about half an hour, the person whose live writing sprint I was watching suggested doing a half an hour, 1,000-word count goal sprint. So that's what I did. I ended up writing over 1,000 words in that half-hour time. I think it was closer to 40 minutes, but nonetheless. And that put me at a little over 29,000 words, which puts me at about 900 or 800 words to do tomorrow in order to reach my goal. So that's very exciting. I'm very grateful for that. I also was hitting a point in my outline where I realized there were a lot of holes, there were a lot of things I hadn't figured out, which I knew was probably going to happen when I was outlining, but that's part of why I had such a hard time starting. And I actually ended up going back, and that kind of half an hour of really good writing time was me actually going back and adding a conversation a few pages earlier, like behind where I was currently at. And that ended up being really helpful because I had planned on having that conversation happen later in the book. It's a key conversation for my main character's arc. It's a conversation that she has with a person who's kind of the mentor character who's been a Christian for a really long time, and it's really, really important for the arc. And I was going to have it happen a little bit later, like more like where you would normally have an aha moment. But I realized as I was writing it in that spot, because it really just fit really well in that spot, so I decided to have the conversation happen there, that she needs to have that conversation earlier so her aha moment can just be realizing that she has to kind of take what she learned from that conversation and apply it herself and kind of take ownership of what she learned, for lack of a better word. And I realized that having it earlier will also solve the problem to some degree of, I feel like she hasn't really grown a lot up until this point. But that was really good. I still have some things as I'm going that I'm like, yeah, this is going to need editing. Yeah, I really need another opinion on this. But I'm trying to just stick with it, get through it. And I'm also discovering that I think this has happened before in my vlogs that I've done. But I get to a part that I think is going to go by really, really fast, and it's not going to be long enough, and then something happens and it ends up being longer. Or in this case, my side character, this cake, yeah, the icing on the cake. In this case, my side characters show up and they end up having their own plans and their own ideas that help make it last longer. I also had something that was going to happen in my outline that I realized didn't make sense anymore with some other things I established, so I had to leave it out and come up with something else. So we're just kind of hitting a very difficult area in my story, but thankfully by going back and adding that conversation, that helps with my arc, my character's arc, and it also just helped me get in a lot of words, so that's good. This is it, guys. Last day of camp. I'm here at the library. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Let's do this. I actually was going to go to the post office first to ship off a package to somebody who won a giveaway that I did, only to find out that my local post office extension is not open on Saturday, so oops, but oh well. I'm still here. I'll get it sent off on Monday, so let's do this. And oops, the library doesn't open until 10. So, I guess I'll have to find somewhere else to write. I just realized that there is a little park area with benches behind the library. So since it's not too hot outside right now, I'm gonna go right there. The cicadas are really loud, so sorry if that's kind of a nuisance, but I actually discovered this spot where there's this little lake, and I always look out and see it whenever I'm riding inside the library, but I never thought to come out here. It's this nice, pretty lake, and there's all these little cypress knees, and they make like little chairs for you to sit in. Honestly, the whole idea is very fairy tale-like, so I found this little spot, and it makes kind of this little chair. So far, the mosquitoes aren't too bad, but if they get crazy in half an hour or so, I'll just go inside the library. Say hello to Mr. Heron. I think he or she sees something in the water. I wonder if they're planning on going fishing. That'd be quite a sight to see. Are there even fish in this pond, though? Okay, I'm getting distracted. I need to get back to work. Ooh, she's on the trail of something now. Oh man. The kids came along and scared her off. It looks like Mr. Heron has decided to join the scene, but Mrs. Heron flew off as soon as Mr. Heron came over. Maybe Mrs. Heron was just feeling grumpy because the kids scared her off. Kind of like me whenever I get a rowdy bunch of kids that come into the store where I work. When you work retail, sometimes that one group of people just comes in that really kind of gets on your nerves. Maybe that's how Mrs. Heron feels. Me assigning stories to great blue herons whenever I need to be writing. Okay, so I finished my 30-minute sprint. We did it! 30,041 words! Yay! I have reached my Camp Nano goal! Woohoo! Do you ever, when you're like vlogging in public spaces, worry that there's gonna be like someone standing over your shoulder watching you just because it's gonna be really weird because you'd be talking to your phone? Anyway, yay! I won Camp Nano. That's super exciting. I am on chapter 14, and I currently have about 175 pages. Now, some of that is, you know, the title page and whatnot, but yeah, that's really, really exciting. I'm really grateful I was able to get this done. The story's not anywhere near finished. Let me see what beat I was on. Let's see. Okay, so I had just passed... No, I was about to the antagonist's plot twist. So the main character's plot twist has already happened. And so I was almost to the third pinch point, which is like the last straw, which then, you know, sends us into supposed victory, disaster, all that stuff. So I'm approaching the climax, but I haven't gotten there yet. So I still have quite a bit to write. I'm guessing I still have maybe 10 to 20,000 more words, somewhere in there. I was hoping to have this be about 50,000 words, but even if it's not in the first draft, I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to go back in and add a few things. There's just a couple places where it feels like there's not a smooth transition. I don't really establish backstories for a lot of the characters, or if I do, I kind of save it till the last minute. And so that might need to be adjusted. I think there's a couple of inconsistencies, but, you know, that's just like an editing thing. But anyway, yes, I have passed 30,000 words. I'm over halfway done writing this first draft. Yay! Thank you so much for joining me as I work on writing the first draft of Project Pirate's Daughter. It has been a blast. I'm so glad that you were able to come along for this adventure. I'm not sure if I mentioned this anywhere, but I will go ahead and mention it that I did reach my goal of writing every day, so that's awesome. And of course, as you saw, as I know I already mentioned, I did reach my goal of hitting 30,000 words. Even though I had originally set my goal to 40,000 words, this just goes to show that just because you have to lower your expectations and lower your goals for yourself doesn't mean that it's any less valid or any less exciting when you do reach those goals, because 30,000 words, even though that's not what I was originally wanting, is still a ton of words, and I'm still very glad that I got that done, and I'm proud of myself for getting that done. Stick around, because next time I'm going to be getting back to some good old writing tips videos and sharing my tips for how to write a character that comes to know the Lord, or as I guess you could also put it, a salvation arc.